Welcome to the Green Evangelist channel. It's another beautiful day in Kiambu, here in central Kenya, a place I have the privilege of calling home. And it's a place that I've been away from for many, many years. And I happened to live outside of this country for many years. And in the last year or so, I've returned home. And I've come home with a very strong appreciation of the beauty of this place. I cannot believe how privileged, how fortunate I am to call this place home. But it's also a place that has experienced a lot of change. Over the last 20 years, there's been a lot of development. The reason being Kiambu is a peri-urban county. We're in the outskirts of the capital city of Nairobi. And what I love about that is that, Kiambu is telling a story in its being today. On the continent of Africa, we are experiencing unprecedented levels of urbanization. And rapid urbanization is bringing a lot of change to Africa. It's bringing a lot of change to Kiambu, bringing a lot of change to Kenya. Some of that change is good. We've seen people get access to services. I think it's easier to get access to services like go to the hospital, you're closer to even clean water, you're closer to electricity, technology, and all those things that come with urbanization. But on the flip side, it also comes with a lot of challenges. And one of those challenges that's been at the top of my mind is the growing challenge of waste management. Because when I drive around Kiambu, I see communities that are struggling with waste management. And sometimes when I come to a place like this, I feel like I'm excited to be here. I'm taking it all in. It's very quiet, very peaceful. As you can see, it's very green. We are within about 30 kilometers from CBD Nairobi. And there's this force of urbanization that's pushing Nairobi out. And that means that even the closest town to us, which is Kiambu town, and Kiambu is the administrative capital or center of Kiambu County, it's also growing rapidly. So I feel like it's not going to be long before what I'm seeing here today changes. The trees that I'm seeing will one day be turned into developed land. We'll have buildings, we'll have estates, we'll have apartment complexes, we'll have commercial buildings here. It's a bit scary to think of that this is a change that might happen in the next maybe 20, 30, 40 years. And so I feel like I want to hold on to this because I think there's a beauty to the calmness and the serenity of this greenery. And as an environmentalist, I feel like I have a calling to try and preserve as much of this as I can. And so that would mean a lot of things. I think that would mean having conversations with people about appreciating what we have now and about talking about how we conserve the good of what we have now so that even as urbanization happens, there's ways in which we can enjoy the benefits of being in such a beautiful place. So in my journey, for the next 3 months, I'm going to be focusing on the challenge of waste management. We know it's a growing problem in Kiambu. It's a growing problem for a lot of towns and cities across Africa that are experiencing rapid urbanization. You don't have to go far. I'm here today, close to home, in the greenery, this very beautiful place. When I look around, I see people farming. I see people doing small-scale farming. There's people growing cocoyams. There's people planting because it started raining recently. So there's a it's rural in its context, but the force of urbanization is not far. And in fact, we'll take a tour and we'll drive about maybe 10 minutes down and we can see where the intensity of urbanization is pushing its way into this kind of landscape. And even in this landscape, I start to see the challenges of waste management. If I look on the ground, this is close to a tarmac road, I start to see plastic waste. I see a plastic bottle that's half burnt, and I see another one, see plastic paper. So it's a reminder that with urbanization will come the challenge of waste management. And I think a lot's gonna need to be done to understand what's driving the issues with waste. There's gonna be waste generation from different sources. And there's also gonna need to be strategies to address how we can reduce, how we can reuse, and how we can recycle waste. And doing so will be important for the environment today, but it will be very important, especially for future generations, because this is a gem we want to pass on to future generations. It might not be in this same exact state, but I believe that it's very, very possible with intentionality to have urbanization that is sustainable. And part of that will include looking at this issue of waste management. So today I wanted us to just take a tour to appreciate, first of all, how beautiful this place is, the greenery. You feel like you're way out there in the countryside, but you're very close to the city. And then to go and see what's happening with waste management along the way, to see the changes that we are seeing going from a place like this, driving into an urbanized area like Kiambu Town, and see how the settlement, the pattern of settlement changes, and how that affects the land and how it affects the environment. There's not going to be as many trees, but I think it's a good tour to take together. And then, I want us to take a look at the challenge of waste management as we get into Kiambu Town. So take a tour with me. This is part of the fieldwork of the Green Evangelist, and I'm glad that you get to check this out with me. And I guess, we get to learn together, we get to contribute and share ideas about how can we green urbanization in Africa. So I just got in the car, and I'm getting ready to drive from a place close to home, a place that I feel still has that countryside feel, and within 5 minutes I'll be hitting urbanization. So I think it's good to just kind of see how that transition happens, and then along the way to just talk about, what does urbanization look like. So let's go. So this is a transitional area. It's a part of the area that's still kind of rural and kind of urban mixing together. So you start to see some old buildings that have been there for ages, and then you also start to see the signs of urban infrastructure, including a mast that's a mast right there. I don't know if you can see. It's a mast for a mobile network. And then you see this kind of commercial buildings. So it becomes more and more densely populated. The closer you are moving towards Nairobi, it's interesting because I can see a glimpse of the Nairobi skyline from here. The tallest buildings from Nairobi can be seen from here. Again, we're only about 25 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. And one of the things that has changed a lot is the road infrastructure. So many years back, a road like this would not have been a tarmac road. It just have been like either a Maram road, or maybe even what they call a dirt road. But yeah, look at it now. It's tarmacked, and once the road is tarmacked, it eases transportation. You start to see more matatus operating on that route. So that also means people are looking for places that it's easy to commute. So they will be looking to rent units where they can get on a matatu and be able to head to work. Sometimes they may have to take 2 matatus to get to work, but I think right now in this area you can take 1 matatu to get to work if you work in Nairobi CBD. And so yeah, now you can see the scenery changes. It's not all of a sudden, it's a bit gradual, but you can see now we have many of these larger apartment complexes. Many of them are newer. It used to be about maybe 10-15 years ago. Most of these apartments would only go up to a height of about 4 or 5 levels because they didn't have an elevator. But now, thanks to China and other countries that have made the idea of putting an elevator to be more accessible and maybe even more affordable, I'm seeing more taller and taller buildings because there is no longer an issue of it being too high and us not having a way of getting up there that's easy. So yeah, some of these buildings do have an elevator. So yeah, when it comes to the issue of waste management, one of the things that I see is the fact that most households don't use waste collection services. We have a lot of households that kind of informally manage their waste, if you can call it that. Most of them will either just burn their waste, or they will bury it somewhere, or they'll go and dump it somewhere at an open space. We also have a lot of shops, small shops, kiosks along the way, and they also generate quite a bit of waste. Many of them are selling produce. So yeah, that's an example of one right there. That's it's a roadside shop. That's maybe a more permanent one. There's a lot of what some people might call shacks that sell produce, that sell charcoal. You can see them along the way. So they are also a major source of waste generation, and they also don't use waste management or waste collection services. It's a new idea for people to pay for waste collection. So a lot of people don't use it because just the whole idea that you're spending money for waste just doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute for a lot of people. And so it's still also expensive, I think, for most people. They feel like, no, we can't have it. And actually, this is a good place. This is a place where it's an open space, and I think it'd be good to go in here and see what's going on. Because typically what I've found is that whenever you see an open space, you can see, I can already see the goat and the trash right there. That's a sign that this is an area where people are dumping. This is an area where people might be dumping their trash. So it'd be good to take a look and see how this community or this area is doing when it comes to waste management. So I'll stop here, get out of the car and walk around, and let's see what we learn. So I just spoke to somebody who's a resident of this area, asked him what's going on with this space, and what he tells me is interesting. He says that this was meant to be a market. So here in Kiambu, this is kind of the lower side of Kiambu. It's on the edge of Kiambu town. And what it tells me is that there's a big market in Kiambu, kind of at the center of Kiambu, where they are running out of space. And so the government came up with this idea that they're going to build a market here and move people from that market and bring them here. At least that was the idea. But it didn't work. People didn't want to move. And so the market was completed, but the people never moved. And as a result, now it's ended up being kind of abandoned. So you can see there's a lot of trash here. And normally, this is what I've seen in like spaces like this, abandoned spaces, abandoned properties, some of which are owned by the government, mostly by the government. Occasionally you'll find one that's owned by private individuals, but they tend to do a better job of securing the place than the government does. So people will start illegally dumping their trash here. And there's almost this idea that trash begets more trash. So once people start dumping trash in an area like this, other people will think that it's okay to do that, or they'll even see that as a place where they can dump their trash as well. So you'll find the trash piling up more and more. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick tour. All manner of trash. Can see here, can see bottles. And again, this is because a lot of households don't use waste collection services. That idea of using waste collection is still an idea that most people are not comfortable with. They haven't adapted to the idea of spending money on trash. So, wow, look at this. A bunch of diapers that were thrown over here, dumped over there. Sad because this market looks like it was pretty well built. You can see the stalls. It's so sad that nobody wanted to come and operate from here. But I can understand, because the people at the market, the vendors really want to be close to where their customers are, where the traffic is concentrated. And that's in the center of Kiambu. So right here, we are on the edge of Kiambu. I don't think a lot of people will be excited to come and do their produce shopping here. You can see in the background there more and more buildings as you head towards the center of Kiambu. And yeah, so this I think were meant to be the stalls. And I think these were meant to be offices of maybe the people managing. I think these were meant to be offices of the people managing the market. And it's not a pretty sight. It's pretty bad. Oh wow. Unbelievable. Oh my God. They're actually using the offices as a place to throw trash. There's trash all over outside, but there's even more trash inside. Oh, it looks like somebody who's homeless might come and sleep here. There's a mattress and a blanket there. Oh my God. Look at those diapers. Oh my God. It's really bad. Really, really bad. First of all, I can't believe the amount of diapers there is. But there's also so many packaging bags, the kind of bags that people will get when they go shopping. It's horrible. And there's more offices back here. More offices, more space. Oh, I think this was supposed to be the toilets. This was supposed to be the toilets, and then look what happened. Look what happened. That is horrible. There's trash inside. There's trash outside. There's trash all over the place. Oh my God. It's like a center of trash, or a center of illegal dumping. I might have to ask somebody what the story is, because this is pretty incredible. Usually you see a little bit of illegal dumping, but this is at another level. And I really hope that the county government does something about this, because this is just a health hazard. You can see here, I think they tried to burn the trash, but there's still a lot of plastic waste, papers, plastic papers all over the place, food wrappers. I think this was meant to be the collection point. So I think they designed this so that it's used as a collection point for the trash for the people who would be using the market. And yeah, for sure it's being used as a collection point, but I don't think it's being emptied. There's so many diapers. So many diapers. Oh my God. I think diaper dumping might be one of the biggest problems we face. It's horrible. It's so dirty. So dirty. So bad. I'm disgusted. You care about the environment and you hope that all this waste does not end up in our waterways. We already have a crisis with microplastics. And yeah, look, especially these little nets. Usually they'll put produce in them. This one's right here. You can see. There's so many of them. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, there's a saying right there. I guess somebody came and scribbled that on there. I am a son of man, born poor, but I will die like a soldier. I'm not sure if that's the story of this market. I'm not sure if that's the story of the people who live around here, because I can only imagine what this must mean for the people who live around here. There's some apartment complexes around here, a lot of residential houses. There's even a beautiful one that's come up more recently right there. And there's this one right here, right next to the abandoned market. So clearly, I didn't expect it was going to be this bad, but it's pretty bad. And it's just so sad to see the magnitude of the waste management problem in Kiambu. And to think that this is the trend, this is a lot of what's happening across Africa, is that we have rapid urbanization happening when a lot of services and systems are not in place to prevent this. Look at the amount of old used clothes that are here. Bottles. I see a lot of beer bottles. And of course, diapers everywhere. Wow, so I just spoke to someone. Most people don't want to be identified on camera, but I spoke to someone who lives or who's familiar with this area. And what they're explaining to me is that there's a bit of a story. One about that market, of course, how it got abandoned and how it became an illegal dumping site. But they're telling me that for Kiambu town, for the longest time, this area that's about maybe about 100, 200 meters from the abandoned market used to be where people would come and dump waste for the longest time. It wasn't official, but he says it's almost like the government had allocated this area as a dumping site. And then what happened is at some point along the way, that stopped. The government issued a stop order that people cannot come and dump their trash here. But from what they're telling me, that it's not very aggressively enforced. So a lot of people still come and throw their trash here, even though it's no longer allowed. So some people will come and throw it at the market. So he was telling me that people will get paid. Even the companies that do waste collection will get paid to collect waste from apartment complexes. And usually they'll charge about 200 or 300 per apartment per month. And if you have a complex of about 20 units, then that's about maybe 6,000. So what those companies will do is they'll collect the waste, and some of them will come and dump it here at night. Some people also use boda waste. Oh, look at that beautiful bird that just flew away with a piece of trash. I love birds, but that's not the way I want to see them living. But yeah, I think the people who also use boda, which are the motorbikes, they can also take away your diapers. So he's telling me that people will pay them to go and throw their diapers. They pay them, they don't know where the diapers are thrown. And usually this is where they end up. So, my God, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This place is horrible. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at that. So as far as the eye can see. So this is an abandoned, I guess you can call it a landfill, but it's not really a landfill. It was just like a dumping center. It stinks. Oh my God. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I thought the market was bad. But this is even worse. There's so much trash here and it stinks so bad. Yeah. So it's hidden it's hidden in the valley. So that's Kiambu Town. And the topography of most parts in Kiambu or in central Kenya, it's very hilly. So you'll find kind of a river basin where there's a valley, and then you'll find these hills. And I guess when it's hidden, most people don't get to see it on a day-to-day basis because it's hidden from the main part of Kiambu. But the sad part is, you see that place right there where there's the cocoyams, where there's ndomas? They call them ndomas locally. That's where there's a stream. And you can even see the people seated over there. There's a river that passes here. There's a river that passes here. And so when you wonder, how do you end up with so much plastic in our oceans? This is how that story begins. We dump all this waste here, it rains, and then also wind blows it, and it ends up in the river basin. And sometimes when we receive heavy rains, this river basin floods. Like there's lots of water going through here. And so all that waste will be carried through. It will be carried by the wastewater, by the flood waters. And this is how we end up with so much plastic in the oceans. So I think this is a scary thing about urbanization, right? Is that we can't stop the force of urbanization. We recognize that we live in such a beautiful place. Kiambu is beautiful. We are putting up all these buildings. And we are growing our population because the more and more apartments we build, the more and more people live here, the more and more waste we generate. And it's changing the landscape, it's changing the land use patterns. I can see some people still digging, they're, I guess, plowing. Usually people will plow in readiness for planting, and I think they're actually planting right now. This must be the remnants of people with land that is so close to the city that are trying to use it for agriculture. There's really quite a bit of it on the other side of the river. But you can see a huge apartment complex there that's been built on that side as well. So yeah, you know for sure that this place will be built up more and more. But I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I didn't know that this still existed. And even when the government stopped people from dumping here, one, it doesn't seem to have worked. And then two, they didn't clean it up. Because when you stop people from dumping, then there must be kind of remedial measures to say, let's clean up this place. We can't leave it like this. It's unbelievable. So I've learned quite a bit today. I'm disgusted, I'm shocked, I'm terrified to imagine what would happen if this is not addressed. And the diapers. My God, diaper dumping is a big problem for the environment. Unbelievable, the volume of diapers there is. And I think over right there, I'm not gonna walk there, but there's even more waste by that mast right there. And there's, I think there's people there that are, there's a truck there. I think there's a waste, sometimes they call it a material recovery center, an informal one. You can see people sorting plastic. They try to come to the dump and try and see what they can retrieve that might be sellable. I mean, it's a good thing that they're doing that. But, my, oh my. My, oh my. Ooh. It's tough to process. I stopped here on the road from Kiambu, having just witnessed the wanton destruction of the environment. And I stopped here on the side of the road. I've made a new friend. I had some sugarcane. Can't believe I don't have any more sugarcane. I'll get you some more sugarcane. But can't think of animals and how little destruction they cause to the environment. And to think that human beings are so much more intelligent than animals, yet we can cause so much damage to the environment. I think it's pretty sad. Let me go get you more sugarcane? Sugarcane? Okay, let's go get sugarcane. Yeah, I decided to move away from my friend the donkey because he was getting pretty insistent on more sugarcane. And decided to move up the road, and to my surprise I found some sheep grazing in this community. There's a little lamb, it's beautiful. And again, when I see animals, I see animals that live at peace with nature, because they don't try to take too much away from nature, and they also don't put all this waste back into nature. They live in harmony with nature. So it's a lot to think about, that Africa is rapidly urbanizing. We have this force that's unstoppable. How do we create a mindset where people care about the way they dispose their waste? Because I think that's at the core of our future, is do we actually care? Because I think, yeah, sure, maybe the government can do a better job, technology might help, but I think ultimately, if the people themselves don't see the damage that they're doing and care, it's going to be pretty difficult to solve this issue of waste management. So this is the mission. I think for me, this looks like a pretty good baseline of where we are, where we started. And I want to see if I continue on this journey, can I shift mindsets? Can I get more people to talk about the environment matters? Can I get more people to want to do something to save our environment, conserve, preserve our environment? Hopefully, one day, we can live in harmony with nature, even as we're becoming pretty unnaturalized. I feel like we are starting to live in very built-up environments, very artificial environments that have very little nature in them, which is sad because, again, we have a beautiful country. We live in a beautiful country and there is a lot of nature surrounding us, but it's an asset we can't take for granted. So the journey of the Green Evangelist continues. Until the next time.